All right, so here's what I got. This is the plan. This is my white sheet. Okay, so we're going to start our optical illusion. And with our optical illusion, you're going to use one of the impossible triangle, the impossible square, the stairs, whatever. But you got to make it into a motif, which is a pattern. So let's look at it. So remember, you can't make an image that's bigger than what you can make with your hand. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if you want to use a grid, you can, just to kind of sketch it out. So, like for example, I'm going to go 3 boxes right here. I'm going to go from an angle right here. I'm going to go 3 more boxes right here. All right. Then I'm going to go 3 more boxes right here. And then an angle. You want to get that edge. You want to get the edges, right? So once you get the idea of it, you want to make sure you have the concept correct, right? So from there, I'm going to come here and make my lines, right? And right now I'm just kind of freehanding. Now this is if you want to do the stairs. This is a good technique to do the stairs. It's pretty simple to do, right? Because I'm just sketching this out. And then you're going to add the diagonal lines using the grid. Now, some of you guys, there's your stairs, okay? Now, some of you guys have decided, like, you can, and I can give you a marker. You can go in here and make your marks. And I know that's going to go through to my other page, but that's okay. I'm just freehanding it. But when you do it for real on your paper, you need to make sure that your craftsmanship from the rubric is on point. Okay, so there's my stairs, right? Now, as long as you have your stairs, like, you should be able to make these stairs yourself again. So, like, it's covered. It's I could have made it a little bit bigger, but there you go. So there's a couple things you could do. Like, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to pull this tape. Now, if you trace it, so like right in this case, I can't see it. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to look at it. I'm going to have to look at my shape. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make the outer edge. So in this case, I'll make it, what you can do is you can look at the size of your, so this is about, I don't know, we'll say 2 inches, close to 2 inches, 2.5 inches, right? So I'm going to make it about 2.5 inches like this. So I'm drawing lightly right there with my ruler. All right. And then, so all these lines should be almost, 2.25, 2.5, and make sure they're the same, right? So I messed up right there. I got to erase that, make sure that we are on point with our stairs. Okay. So I'm going to do this. So that's about about 2.25. Good. All right. So here's the deal. I'm going to go at an angle. So if I do it on my sheet here, then I'm going to go ahead and measure that. So that's about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to eyeball that at 3/4 of an inch at that angle. Okay. Now it don't have to be exact because you're going to go back over it. All right. So I'll need to make sure 3/4 of an inch right there. All right. And then you're going to make it 2.25. So once you get your measurements, you're in good shape. Right. And then since this is 3/4 of an inch, this is going to be 3/4 of an inch. And I'm just notice the angle's about the same right there. Angle's about the same. All right. And then I'm going to close it off. And so if I get my measurements fairly close, it ain't going to be exact. Then you box it in. There you go. All right. Now, you're going to take this. There it is right there. And then from there, you're going to make your steps. Now, this is where it kind of gets hard. Okay. So you're going to make your steps. and make sure they work. And I'm just freehanded just to see. So I know that's going to be a little bit off. So I'm going to have to erase it. I'm just kind of working at it. Okay. So what I need to do probably, so this is pretty close. I need to probably measure that. So that's about a half an inch. So if I make my stairs just about a half an inch, it probably should work. Half an inch. Once you make one side of the staircase, the other side should follow. Should work. Okay. And it ain't exact, right? So, and what you can do if you need to, so we'll say that's the bottom of it. You can erase this because it's not, for you guys, it doesn't need to be an exact science. After you make the stairs, then you can clean up the edges, right? And then let's close that out. And let's make that as an angle. The same angle, roughly. Of course, I want mine to be really neat. Use your hard edges, right? Use your ruler. And then from there, we're going to try to keep that same angle. And then, like, I'm going to use the same measurements. As long as you use the same measurements, you should be in good shape. As a part of that, so I'm going half an inch, right? I'm going half an inch all the way down. If I go half an inch all the way down, it should match up to where I want it to be. See, and there it is. It's matching up nicely. Okay, so you're going to go at an angle, try to match that same angle. So there's my angle there. I'm going to eyeball that angle. As long as you have 2 points, you should be in good shape. There it is. And there it is. There it is. There it is. The angle. And then one more. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. As long as whatever you do on your first one, however you do your first one, is how you're going to do all the others. Okay. So in this case, I drew my stairs. And so from there, I'm going to measure. So like in this case, this is about 2.25 inches, right? This is roughly 2.25 inches. This is 2.25. That's roughly 2.25, right? So then you can decide how am I going to do my next box. So you're going to have box, box, box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way to the right off the page. Okay. So there's a couple things you can do. Okay. There's a couple things you can do. You can have a little space and do the box exactly the same way. Have a little space. So let's say I'm going to start another box a half an inch from this box the exact same way. And what did I say it was? It was 2.25 inches. 1, 2.25. All right. Well, let me erase that real quick. I'm going to make sure I'm on point here. So if that is, yeah, I want to make sure I'm right there where I need to be. All right, good. So as long as I got my lines and after I start making it, so there's that line right there. They match. That line matches that line. Okay, so I'm going to measure this. And like I said, however you measure it, whatever your measurements are, should be the same. Okay. Now I'm gonna like sir, there's that angle, and that measurement is 3/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna make that 3/4 of an inch. This is about 2 inches. So I'm gonna make that 2 inches. This is 2 1/4 or 2 1/4 right there. And then you just close it out. Right. So now I'm making my lines. So I got my first structure and I got my second structure. Okay. Got my first structure and I got my second structure. Now let me look at this real quick. Let's see how this works. Okay. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay. I'm going to make another one. So I got a 1/2 inch. So remember, when we went 1/2 inch, it worked good. So I got a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch. So that if as long as you stick with the same measurement, you're gonna. It doesn't have to be exact, but from the naked eye, when you look at it, it should match up, especially after you get out of your pen and ink and all that good stuff, right? And that bottom might need to be a little bit bigger. That's fine. No big deal. Don't have to be, So there you go. Right? Really can't tell. Okay. Do the exact same thing. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and match that angle right there. Okay. And then we're going to go 1/2 inch. Match that angle. 1/2 inch. Match that angle. When I say match that angle, I'm trying to match that one. And again, it don't have to be exact, because when you add the pen and ink portion, it's going to look good. I promise you, it'll look really good. Okay. So this is what called a motif, a repeating of patterns. Pattern is one of our elements. Okay. So this should be helpful to you. Now, again, if you decided to draw something like this and make it dark enough where you can trace it, you can do that too. The problem with tracing it is you might not be able to see it through the good paper. We can get some light maybe to help you with it to do that, but we'll see what we can do with this right here. So I'm gonna continue to. I'm kind of getting sloppy here because I'm talking through it. I need to make sure those angles are good. This one's just a little bit bigger than 1/2 inch, but that's all right. Okay. That angle doesn't look as good as I want it to look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match that angle and just cut that off. There you go. Now, that's my second one. All right. And then I'm going to continue to do that again and over and over and over and over and over again. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take your pen, right? You're going to take your pen. Let me see if I got one here. So in this case, I've got these pens that I was going to let you use. So in this case, so you can see it, I don't think I've got a black one. So let's go. We're going to take our pen, and this is where you really got to, like, once you go with the pen, no more can you erase. So once you get a shape going, and you get your pen going, I'm going to highlight all these lines. And the good thing about it is if you do a good job, you won't have to do as much erasing. When I say erase, you will go back and erase I just made a mistake right there, but that's okay. Just be really careful. And these pens are really good for like making edges there. Just be very careful. You got your hard lines there. You got your tips there. You got all the areas that you need. And the key is just trying to make quality lines with your pen. Now, typically I would use a black pen, but that's okay. And if that's a little bit off, it's a little bit off. That's a part of the creative process, right? Okay, here we go. And the last one, make sure I've got all the pencil covered. And what I like about these pens is they don't bleed. Okay. So now there's my first structure. Okay. Now I've got this structure that I'm going to do the same thing with. So before you start doing any pen and ink work, other than just the highlights of the lines, just the lines itself, before you start doing any like hatching or cross hatching, you want to make sure that you're drawing everything on your paper to where you have it like you want it. Don't get in a hurry. So as I'm working through, I'm kind of getting my lines going. And the good thing is, if you make a minor mistake with your pen, you can fix that with your hatching or cross hatching once you get done. So I'm not, again. And if you make a mistake, just work through it. Don't stress about it. A part of the creative process is, you're gonna make mistakes. Like I made a mistake right there. Not a big deal. Because when I do my hatching, it's gonna be fine. Now, the next thing, I'm gonna make another one. So in this case, it was what, a half an inch from each side. So I'm gonna go a half an inch. Now I'm gonna back with my pencil. I'm gonna go a half an inch, do the same thing. So I'm gonna go off the page. So half an inch, half an inch. Oh, wait a minute. I need to do it right here. I need to start right here. So that is, yeah. That way so I'm gonna measure that right there, half an inch, and then roughly right there. See, that matches up. Make sure it matches up. There we go. Now, this is what I was talking about by going off the page. So my spaces in between are always going to be the same. Okay. And then I'm going to match my angle. And in this case, angle goes off the page. Okay. It goes off the page. Right. So in this one, you're not going to see as much of the lines, but you want it to go off the page. And then you're going to bring it back on the other side, and do the same thing, but we'll work from the inside out. All right. So then the next thing you're going to do is, remember, that was a half an inch. So you just barely be able to see. You just barely be able to see the staircase coming off the page. Right. And that's all you can see. Can't see nothing else. right? So the next thing is you're going to, like, so you see it coming off the page. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make my lines. I got an equal amount of space between the two. Okay, and there you go. Make them a little bit darker, clean it up as you need to. So there, now we're going off the page. Now let's look at the other side. Do the exact same thing. Now I'm gonna go back to my, remember I went a half an inch from each one. So I'm gonna go a half an inch and I'm gonna work my way across. Okay, you're gonna keep drawing that same thing. All right. So a half an inch. So you're going to draw a square, a square, a square, and then you're going to decide, am I going to put a square in between or just I'm going to put it over top? It's up to you because the space around it, this is all your negative space. Like all this stuff right here is your negative space. Of course, I don't want you all to do that, but the positive space is what you're doing here. But you're going to continue to draw what you want to do. So let's see what we got here. Sometimes the easiest way with these boxes is to draw a box like this. Just draw a box and measure it. So what is it? So it's what? Two and a quarter. Okay. What is this one? This is about 3 3/4. So I'm gonna. So as long as your measurements are close to the same, let's check it again. 3 3/4. No, sorry. 2 3/4. Here we go. 2 3/4. Right there. And then this one is the same. 2 3/4 there, and then you close it off. And then now it's a box. Now the next thing you can do, you're going to end up cutting those corners off and start off with your angle, right? Start off with your angle. If you want to eyeball it, make it look the same, you can. Eyeball it, make it look the same, you can. And then what are you going to do? You're going to come in here and erase that where it looks the same. Okay, so the reason I was showing you that is because now it makes it easier for you to make that, and you can go through there and you can erase over top of the pen. You know, we can just do what we need to do, clean it up really good as you go. Remember, don't do any hatching until the whole page is covered, right? So now I've got it, you know, and I've made one mistake right here, which I'm going to fix when I do hatching, right? So the next thing is you're just going to continue the process, right? So I'm going to go, so we decided that was what? Half an inch. So there we go, half an inch, half an inch. Just keep it working. Half, half, half. So you're kind of using some math in here too. You know, not really in the same way, but you know, they are geometrical shapes. You know, Escher with optical illusions did some cool stuff. You know, remember this one's a little bit bigger, and that's okay. You know, and if you want to go back and clean that up, you can, or you can have that a little bit bigger. I'm just going to leave it like that. Right? There's no sense in, you know, doing that anymore. As long as, like, this is a half, so I'm going to go half an inch. There you go, half an inch right there, and then right there. Kind of drawing blind here so you can see it on the video. Now, this is a lot for me, so you know, it's bothering me, so I'm going to go back and erase it and fix it. what I'm doing. I'm just kind of sketching out just to see where I'm at. All right, so we're going to go a little further out. Let's make this a little further out. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. 1, 2, 3. So you need 4 steps. So sometimes you kind of got to think about it to, use your critical thinking skills, see how. So I'm going to try to match it. So if you match it, by this time you should be able to eyeball it. And I'm kind of keeping it at like a half an inch right there, just to see. Three. Something's messed up here, and I'm not sure what's going on. So I'm going to have to hit it again, So what I'm going to have to do is figure out what's going on with it. So that is 2 1/4. That's the problem. So I made that too small. That's the problem. So that needs to be 2 1/4, not 2 inches. So there it is, 2 1/4 inches. That's the problem. There you go. Now, because if you look at it, you do it right the first time. Again, don't get in a hurry. And that is 2 inches. Oh, that's the issue. That was the issue. Okay, got it. So there we go. That's it. That's what I was doing wrong. Okay, cool. So now so that is about 2, just under 2. So I'm going to try to match that. And that's why you got your ruler. Now I should be working. All right. So before you get in there to make your other stairs, you should check it. So that, yeah, that's good. So that's about a half. So now we should be in good shape. Half, and match the angle. And let's see if that's a half. Yeah, half and a half inch. Match the angle. And a half. And a half. And a half. And a half. And 1/2. I messed that up a little bit, but that's all right. I'll fix it here in a minute. Yep, that's going to work out just perfect. So it even took me a minute to kind of figure out where I needed to be. Yeah, and that bottom step's a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Not a big deal. Not a problem. It's a little bit over a half, but it's going to still work. There you go. Now I'm going to go back over it with the pen. Like we did the other ones. I'm going to do this side first. I'll work my way back up, matching the angle the best I can. Notice I'm doing a couple swipes with the pen, make sure I get a nice solid pen stroke there. Oh my gosh, I just messed that up. I got in a hurry, didn't I? Don't get in a hurry, Mr. McGuire. So right there, I can fix that. I'll have to fix that in the hatching process, but I feel like I can. And last but not least, got the top step. There you go. Other than making a few mistakes, I am in good shape. Okay. So I got a mistake right there. And I got a mistake right there. So we all make mistakes, right? No big deal. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make one off the page. Same thing. So like I did this one over here, I'm going to make that one off the page. Okay, but before I do that, you all understand that process. What am I going to do? Am I going to make a box right over top, or am I going to center it? Okay, it's up to you. So in this case, I have been sticking with the 1/2 inch, right? So I'm going 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. So to make quick work, I don't have a ruler, so I'm going to use this. I don't have a bigger one, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to make a really light line like that. Okay. And then I want to match where it is. So remember, this was, let's see, that was about 2.25 inches. So 2.25 inches. And then that was same, 2.25. So, whatever you, because everybody's got different sizes. So, it's not one size fits all, right? So the cool thing about this is then if you can just start going through here and matching your pattern, which remember, a pattern over and over and over is called a motif, motif, motif. And you just, like, I'm using measurements because that's 2 3/4, because remember the bottom and the top are a little bit larger. So 2 3/4. Just making sure. 2.5, 2 3/4, 2.5, 2 3/4. Now this is 2 1/4. So yeah, it's a little bit different, which is fine as long as they look fairly the same. They don't have to be exact. Okay. So if you notice, my space in between those are going to be the same. The only thing I'm doing is I'm cutting the corners off, right? So as long as I get the same, roughly the same, then this is what I call the boxing in technique. I'm just putting a box, and then I'm going to eventually erase what I don't need, and then I'm going to use what I need. So this is how you're going to do the rest of it. Okay. So we're going to go off the page. We're going to do the same thing over here. Now that I know, I'm pretty confident about my box. We're going off the page on this side. I want to make sure that I'm at 1/2 inch from it. All right. And then we slide over in my right hand here. I'm going to try to, for the purpose of the video. All right. And then I'm going off the page. I won't have to measure that. Okay. And then I'm doing the same thing. So as long as you stay close, to it, Once you get to the point, you'll be able to eyeball some of it because it's not going to be it's not going to be a perfect science. Yeah, you're using some math technique, but you're also using your creative technique. So there you go. Now I got my boxing in. I've started it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to match. Now, here's the question. Do you want to keep the exact same shape right here and move it down here? Or do you want to mix it up? Okay. So if we decide to keep the same shape, then we're just going to change the corners to make sure that, I've got roughly 2 inches there. So that's where I'm going to start the angle right there. I've got about 2 inches right there. So this is, let's see, we'll say it's just under 2 inches. So right there. And that's where we're going to start the angle. Right. And then you can go in there and just kind of match that shape. Match that shape. You can go back and check your math. Doing the same thing on this one. Match that shape. When I say I like what that little shape is, what we're going to get rid of. Right. So then we're going to get rid of that. So this is kind of like you're making quick work of your shapes. Right. Because you don't need that corner. Because I'm going to match it now. I need to get the other corner done. So that's what about a 1/2 inch down right there, and about a 1/2 inch down right there. And we're gonna make it, and that angle should be the same. So now let's match our shape. I'm just kind of eyeballing this. Okay, you can measure it if you want. You don't have to. But once you get it, you might have to change a few things. But once you get it, you should be in good shape. Now I'm working on the next boxes, and you're going to cover the whole paper like that. Okay. And then when you get into it, you got to decide how we're going to hatch. Are we going to hatch like, you'll get in there and you want to start hatching like this, like we did before. You do your vertical hatch, and then you're going to do your cross hatch. Whatever you decide to do, stay consistent with it. Whatever you decide to do, stay consistent with it. Again, don't get in a hurry. This is where you really need to be neat. Okay? Really need to be neat. So if we're going to do the front kick panel, you're going to always do the front. Okay? So let's say that's what I'm going with. So I'm going to go here, and I'm using my ruler to really make sure my neatness and my craftsmanship, I'm going at an angle too. So you decide. It's up to you. You decide. I don't want you to use scribbles. I just want you to use hatching or cross hatching. Okay, now you can use stippling. You can use dots. I wouldn't recommend it. It'll take you forever, and you need a special pen for that. So my recommendation would be to hatch it. And if you decide to go vertically and horizontally, you can, or vertically and horizontally. But if you decide to go at a diagonal and you only want to go one way, make sure you do the exact same thing. Now, in this case, I don't think it looks good just go one diagonal. I'm going to go the other diagonal. Right? And these pens do a good job drying quickly. The ones that I have, they do a good job drying quickly. Ballpoint pens, and that's good. I like that. That looks really good. Okay. Now, if you want to take it one step further, if you want, okay, you can. And pretend this is a pen. You can take this and you can do some shading and mix media the thing, right? Now this is not sulfite paper that I'm using. This is that grid paper. So, it's not going to rub very good, but this will bring some make it look more three-dimensional as you work through it. See how I'm working it? Okay. And then for me, I'm going to flip mine upside down because I'm left-handed, and I'm going to do that other corner. All right. So remember, that mark right there wouldn't be with a marker. You don't want to use a marker. You want to use that pen, like I use a pen. So like if I was going to shade right there and shade right there a pencil, this is called mixed media, right? This is called mixed media. See? And I'm going to work my way through using a pencil, using your shading techniques with mixed media. Okay, now, and I don't want to use color pencil either. And that looks pretty good. I like that. And that's on the grid paper. Can you imagine what it would be on a sulfite paper? It'll take to better contrast. So I'm going to blend it, make it look good. You know, I might even come in and I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, you know? So as you go through, you're like, you know, but whatever you decide to do on this one, you're going to do on all of them. Okay. The exact same way. All right. So we'll continue to work on that. Again, this is called a motif, a pattern. This is what I decided to do. You know, if you do a triangle, if you decide to do the triangle, then you're going to do, you know, the triangle like one way, and then a triangle the other way, and then the triangle the other way. But once you draw it, you know, I like having space. I like having this negative space in between. Okay. The triangle is the positive space. I like having this negative space. Now, if you want, you can put them on top of each other. You can be here and here and here, and then you can just use a triangle and just kind of keep that going. But remember, these are impossible triangles. They're not just regular triangles. Okay. But I like having space. And I want to make sure that those spaces are fairly similar, and like when you look at it. Okay. All right. So that's the process. Let's get it going. Hopefully, and I will continue to help you as we go.